smash the like button.
We are back, everybody, with another episode of Beauty Breakdown. And we got a men's today. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Today we will be looking at Krishna. Krishna is in Australia at the moment, but his ancestry is from Ghana, West Africa. So we've got some African beauty today. If you are new here, for some reason, we are working with the Kibi image identity system, where we've got 5 main categories. Within those categories, starting from most yang to most yin, sharp, long, narrow structure to less structure, softness, roundness, curving lines, and then we've got a softened and a sharpened version of each of them. So there's a slightly more yin version of a dramatic, etc., all the way down. So let's jump right in and have a look at Krishna's body. Now, I sort of bounced through a few different types for Krishna. At first I thought maybe a dramatic classic, and then I thought no, I don't really see enough balance in his skeleton for that. There's a few squarish shapes in his skeleton, but I think if we look at this image on the right here, you can see that there's a narrowness to the bones. This suit isn't really the right cut or fit on him, but I actually quite like the long verticality there. So I think we're looking at some kind of dramatic. And when I look at this image here, I see a little bit of softness and tapering in the shoulders. So all of these elements together put him, I think, in a soft dramatic category. But I did bounce around for a little while. I thought soft natural for a little bit. I played with flamboyant natural and dramatic classic, and I really kind of spent a bit of time really getting clear on what I thought he was, and I'm pretty settled on soft dramatic. And I just threw Matthew McConaughey here as a celebrity example of soft dramatic, where we've got fundamentally narrow length in the frame, being most accommodated by pieces that highlight the vertical. This jacket's really beautiful. We've got that length there, which brings in the drama, and the fabric itself is a little soft and luxurious. And we've got this softened turtleneck, which is beautiful for someone with a dramatic skeleton. And then with the softer fabric, that's just absolutely perfect for a soft dramatic. And in fact, I think this could be a really good staple cooler month look for Krishna. So take notes, dude. So going back again, there's definitely not enough width, I think, in the skeleton. I think he looks really good with that V there. And there is some softness there, I think, which will be accommodated for really nicely by softer fabrics. Keep in mind that while dramatic skeletons are usually tall, they don't always have to be super tall. I think Matthew McConaughey is only around 5'10", which isn't short for a guy, but it's not particularly tall either. When I was looking at different images of Krishna, I actually guessed that he was going to be a little bit taller than what he actually was. Krishna told me he was about 5'11", I think, and I actually anticipated him being a little taller, maybe between 5'11" and 6'2" was my kind of guess estimate. So it's really about the lines. So even though they don't necessarily have to be super tall, it's about that narrow length and moving with that narrowness of the skeleton to create that long line, to work with that long line. And that's going to mean getting rid of things like cropped elements, color blocking, which is very much a Gameen thing. If we look back at this image here of Krishna, like this is a Gameen sort of thing, right? Everything in this outfit basically is disrupting his vertical, which is also why I think it doesn't work that well. I think tying in with the pop of color to sort of bring that in kind of works, but overall it's not very cohesive. When we're talking about comprehensive beauty analysis, we're thinking of things in terms of the ensemble. We're looking at the whole picture, and those sorts of ensemble head to toe looks are even that much more important for the tall types, the dramatic types, flamboyant naturals, because there is a need to bring in the fact of the verticality and the length there. So this is going to be really important for Krishna to start wrapping his mind around and integrating into his wardrobe here on out. All of these items just feel like they're kind of sitting on top of him. They don't really feel like they do much for him at all. And the best thing I see of these photos, again, is that sharp V-neck, I think. And it goes really nicely with the angularity of his face there. You can see probably the similarities here in the length of the torso and that length that we also get from McConaughey here. Quick dabbling into color analysis. I just like to keep this pretty simple. We just want to get the basics here, right? Certainly getting out of the fallacy that can be made sometimes that deep skin tones are always warm. For me, it's pretty clear that Krishna is a cool and bright undertone. Because Krishna does have deep skin and there is some of those browns in the skin pigment itself, this is where we could maybe get a little bit flexible. Krishna, as a cool and bright person with deep skin, might be able to get away with warm and bright colors in a way that a really fair, cool and bright person will not. So I think there is some kind of bending and leniency that comes in with the actual skin color itself. But what's most important is the undertone across the board. So Krishna is going to look his best in bright, cool colors that work with his high contrast that come from the teeth and the eyes as well. Really going to bring out the glow of his skin. Hopefully you can see how these warmer colors make him kind of look a little bit grayed almost next to them, whereas around the cool colors, that gray quality becomes a more silvery midnight glow. It's quite common for people with African heritage as well. If they have that really deep skin, they tend to lean into almost having a really deep violet kind of undertone. You see that, for example, with Lapita that we looked at in another video recently. I wrote here cool and bright, and I thought just to clarify, we'd kind of compare with some muted cools versus some brighter high intensity cools. And I think hopefully you can see that on the left, I think, while it doesn't look terrible, I feel that Krishna is dragged down a little bit. He looks a little bit more tired. The face doesn't look as bright and healthy and glowy as it does on the right with the brighter, more vivid colors. Just training the eye, getting the subtleties there. Just looking at a few quick photos of Krishna in some different colors. We can see the issues here probably, right? It really feels like these clothes are kind of sitting on top of him in this image on the left. Yeah, we're not getting any of that verticality. The cool tones are good. If they were brighter and more intense, that would be better. You can probably see that silvery glow of the skin coming through, showing that cool tone. And the silver metal there is really at home and glowy on Krishna, which is what you would expect for someone with cool and bright skin. That silver is going to be much more melting into the skin than, let's say, gold. And I think Krishna here with this burgundy red is much more complemented than even this red shoe. It almost looks like it's a warmer red. The burgundy is a bit more blendy with the skin. We're just going to wander to Krishna's music channel, Krishool. And then we've got that burgundy turtleneck. I think the turtleneck is a good vibe on him. There's something about maybe this fabric or the fit's not quite right. I want it to be a little bit more snug, and that would be a bit more of that soft dramatic element, right? Sorry, I'm going to move my face out of the way. To be a bit more snug and sculpt the body a little bit more. That's a kind of soft dramatic element where we're hugging the body a little bit more than if we're just working with a straight dramatic skeleton. So I think this is really good as far as a basic piece goes, but if it was a softer, more luxurious and a bit more of a clingy fabric, that would make it a lot better. And we can see the burgundy there, very nice with the skin, versus the yellow. And so even though the intensity of the color is okay, hopefully you can see how his skin almost looks kind of grayed. It becomes grayed next to that yellow. And we got this pink color here, which is quite nice. In this outfit, we can see, let's go back a little bit. This is like getting a bit closer. When we compare this Gamine outfit here, it doesn't really work so much. And then in that kind of more active wear, we're getting a little bit more of that luxurious narrow fit. And if the top was also black, that would be even better. And if the shoes were black, right, to keep that long vertical. But hopefully we can see why I've typed him as a soft dramatic here. We might go, oh, but he could be a natural. His shoulders look pretty broad. His hands are pretty square, but it's the same thing. I think he's much more accommodated for in lengthy lines, and I don't necessarily see enough width in the bones. And he's got some more muscle mass there, but I think his width is really, coming more from the muscles rather than the actual bones themselves. I don't think he has blunt bones in his skeleton. Length. Yes, get it. Woo! Yeah, the braids are cool. I like the reflectiveness of the glasses here, actually. That's probably the one thing that I really do like. Brings in a severity and an intensity, which I think goes with the dramatic beauty. Now, Krishna wears this hoodie a lot, and he's probably drawn to it because it is bright and vibrant and intense. And like we said, he's a bright undertone, so bright and intense are going to feel harmonious in that sense. However, there is a lot of warm colors on here, so this would be a little bit better if it was more so the cool. But as far as the actual jumper goes, I really don't think that the shape or the print itself is doing much for Krishna. And I think this comes back to considering the soft dramatic elements, and we'll also consider the facial elements as well. When we consider the Truth is Beauty system, considering his facial beauty, I think Krishna really leans very strongly into dramatic beauty. I think there's an intensity, there's a striking quality, there's a forward movement, and I think that really lends itself to dramatic beauty. And considering that along with the soft dramatic body type, we really want prints and lines that are going to be accentuating long, narrower lines. Whereas that rainbow hoodie before, while the colors were good in the fact that they were bright and intense and contrasting, there was no element of bringing in the length or the narrowness or the severity that I think Krishna is going to be much more accommodated by. So the short hair, this isn't too bad. I think it's a little better on here to the right. Looks like there might be a bit more geometry, a little bit more structure in the shaved sides there. That'll give it a bit more angularity, which is good for dramatic beauty. And I think for the braids are a good look for him too, in that it's bringing in that length and the drama. So that is a good dramatic element also. And this is good here, right? This is how to rock the short hair, keep the angularity, keep it sleek, keeping it geometric to go with those long, sharp lines, to go with the dramatic, intense beauty. And this image is pretty good. So this is a little better. We're starting to see how that long line, he looks quite tall there, and that's looking really complementary, that sense of depth of color all the way down and that V that particular jacket is making. So this is much better than the other things I've seen. Looking back to this sort of cropped outfit, it's just, that jacket could maybe work if the rest of the pieces were styled within a better context for him. But yeah, you can see how much more in alignment he is with the length there. That's actually all I want to do today, guys, to get a baseline for Krishna. And then I want to take you over to the Pinterest board that I made for him, just with some ideas that might get things moving for him, give him some potential pathways to start exploring. But this is kind of the vision or the keywords that came to me when I was thinking about a look or some core pieces for Krishna. And that was Neo 2.0, industrial and luxurious. So I really think that if you put Krishna in an outfit like this, he would look right at home. He looked like he could walk off the set of The Matrix, and that would be totally fine. So considering some industrial, dramatic, intense, intimidating elements, also within the context of the soft dramatic as well. So some of these softened elements are going to be really good for just basic, everyday, comfortable pieces that he's going to feel luxurious in. Here is the Pinterest board that I have prepared for Krishna. And let's start with shirts, sweaters, jumpers. Okay, the themes are, remember, we want dramatic intensity, maybe some softness in the fabric for the soft dramatic body type, geometry for the dramatic beauty, intensity for the dramatic beauty, some turtlenecks, some sharp elements, narrow fits, etc., etc. This image on the left here, this asymmetrical detailing, the fact that the buttons are kind of sweeping over to one side, that's a dramatic element. It gives it a slightly avant-garde feeling, and the fabric's also soft, so he's going to feel nice and luxurious in that for that soft dramatic element, and that V shape with the neckline as well. If he wants to go for a print, I think a long vertical, obviously the colors are not right here, a long striped shirt underneath something is probably going to be the best way to do a print, or something that's kind of bold, masculine and intense. This shirt here is a lightning print, which I think is really in your face. It's also cool toned, right? So, and that's high contrast to the blue and the white, so that'll work really nicely for him. This one here, a top like this could work, even though it's a little more natural leaning in terms of that unconstructed element. I think the fact that there's that geometry across the shoulder there gives it a slightly dramatic quality for men. And if it's longer, so on this model, it's actually hitting below the waist, so it's coming down. So if you wanted to go for a high neck, slightly loose fitting top, that's the way you could do it. If it has some angularity there that goes with the geometry of the face and the body, of course, and the length of the shirt as well. If it brings it all the way down, it can hang and be sort of drop below the hips, give it some vertical. On the left here, snugly fitting hoodie with this simple, minimal and clean, which is a dramatic facial beauty quality. Similar to this one over here, this other grey one. Again, that asymmetry at the bottom, it's really long and it's sort of cutting off at that sharp angle. And it's bonus, it's also quite a soft and snug, smooth, luxurious kind of fit. Looks like there's some layered detailing here, which I think is going to be a really nice element. Let's enlarge this one. I'm all about the turtlenecks. Bringing them into a snug fit is going to be a wardrobe staple for Krishna, of course. Cool and bright colors, some burgundies and plums if he wants to go for a bit more of a shaded, cool color. White, black, some bright blues and purples, all going to look really nice. Now this is really cool. We didn't talk about Dressing Your Truth today, but I think if we look at Dressing Your Truth, if you remember from my other videos, I'm pretty sure Krishna would be a type 4, which is interesting because you'll remember that I mentioned that a lot of the actors in the Matrix films had type 4 beauty. It's a yang expression of a yin movement, symmetrical, mirror-like. And this jumper makes me think of the type 4 in those printed detailings in the knit, sharp, angular, bold and intense with the print themselves. And that neckline and that asymmetrical detailing again is a bit more of a dramatic element. And with this green top here, seeing that shoulder detailing, sharp geometric lines, really nice basic kind of tee. Some avant-garde asymmetry here with this burgundy long sleeve. This black one here is good. We've got this V-neck shape and some sharpness in the lines. That's that type 4 kind of print. Another sort of soft, this is more of a jumper here with a little bit of the zip coming up to that turtleneck. That would be a great color on Krishna as well. And it looks like a soft, knitted, luxurious fabric. So hopefully getting a sense of some baseline pieces that we could do for Krishna. Let's go to some jackets and some outerwear. Featured that jacket from Matthew McConaughey, and I've brought in some more dramatic elements. I thought I'd throw in a kind of industrial cyberpunk Matrix jacket. I think Krishna would look really cool in something like that. And that would be a kind of statement out there piece, right? With the shiny glasses from the video clip. Boom. Included some soft dramatic elements too, like with this sort of fur detailing. If you wanted to experiment more with leaning into the soft dramatic body type, we could look at some of those softer faux fur kind of fabrics. This vest here, that vertical shape that's on the vest there would be good. Sleeveless items can be really good if they have that downward motion. Long jackets, long lines, structured sharpness. Vests that have this long, sharp, dramatic detailing are going to be great. This is another sort of softer item here, this softened grey. It almost leans a little bit into ethereal territory. If you've got dramatic beauty or a dramatic body type, you can kind of lean into, borrow a few ethereal elements if you want to soften things up and make things a little bit floaty. But fundamentally, this is also in alignment with soft dramatic recommendations as well, right? Particularly if that was a little bit longer. These higher collars, I had to include that there, that sort of leather quality with the high neckline. I thought that was really cool. Krishna would look way better in that than this model. I would generally say bomber jackets are probably a little bit too rounded in those shapes than what Krishna is going to want to go for as a baseline look. But if he really wants to have a bomber jacket, I would just say to wear it the way this model's wearing it here with the white underneath and having the jacket open where we're bringing in a sharp angle. That would be the way to make sure you're accommodating the dramatic qualities. And you can see a similar thing here. This isn't a bomber. This has got some more structure in it. Yeah, I think you're getting the idea here. A little quick note on pants. Not too much to say here except that some of those images where Krishna was wearing a really skinny jean, they somehow felt a little bit too small on him. So a narrower fit is going to be good for his skeleton and his dramatic beauty, but he might need to experiment with cuts. And that's really going to be something to do in store, by the way, to really see what cuts are going to work for you. Even just a straight leg can look to be quite a narrow fit still. Some of his skinny jeans felt a little bit too squashing in. That could be a cut issue. But for belts, we're going for something that's solid, nothing too small or flimsy or narrow. It can be narrow and long and sleek, but the actual width, we don't want to keep it too small because, of course, he has got a dramatic skeleton. Anything that's a little bit undersized is going to feel very off on him. We need to consider the physical presence. Obviously included some silver, black, high contrasting industrial elements, geometric elements. Just included these as an example of an alternative fit there. Yeah, playing with some of these industrial punk elements again. Something like this if there was a black shoe as well, keeping the vertical there. Narrowing cargo fit. And this is a way that you could get away with that slendering, tapering at the ankle. And in this example at the bottom here, there's that high top shoe in the same color so that the tapering isn't corrupting the vertical. It's working in context with the vertical. Yeah, so a lot of these have sort of dramatic elements to them, a little bit of weight to them. And because we talked about shoes a little bit, let's go on over to shoes. Longer and more narrow pointed toes to follow the longer and sharp lines, playing around with some industrial sharp elements for some sandal options, right? Just kind of seeing what possibilities there were, right? Sharpness, especially for the warmer months. If we want to go for a sandal, bringing in a sharp geometric quality. Sneakers with a solid sole, nothing too flimsy and too narrow unless the foot's long itself. I mean, even this boot Even though it's really narrow, it's got that a bit of weight in the heel, just something to bring in a bit of support and weight and size to match the presence, the physical presence, the length and the overall size of the skeleton that comes with the dramatic bones. Quite an industrial high top sneaker there, which I think would be really cool. This is great, bit of pop of color there, high contrast, a really easy casual sneaker that also looks quite smart, and there's a bit of weight to the sole again. Some geometric elements, some angularity, narrower toes rather than square toes. Yeah, you're getting the idea. Some formal wear. Obviously, silver is going to be a better option, but because he has got the depth of skin, there might be some contexts where he can get away with gold if it's supported by the black. And there's something kind of regal about black and gold, and for whatever reason, I just sense that maybe a black and gold combo would feel quite regal on Krishna. I could be wrong about that, but I just threw some options in there to play with, just to be creative, like this asymmetrical vest. See, same thing. Bringing in a bit more of the soft dramatic here, right, with a more satiny finish. Something soft, a little bit luxurious, bringing in the yin quality of the soft dramatic body. Just little hints of it here and there. Love the bold masculinity. That's, again, that type 4 element from the DYT system. See this guy here? The pants are too skinny. Same thing here. It's like, yeah, you need something with a little bit of room. Still a narrow fit, but with a little bit more room, because these two guys just look a bit oversized and a bit silly in those tiny little pants. But even so, let's have a closer look at this one. Yeah, see the bold asymmetry of that? That's really awesome for dramatic beauty. I think that would look really cool on Krishna if you wanted to play with something like that and really lean into a bit more of an avant-garde and out there way to do formal wear. Of course, if his lifestyle permits it. Jewelry, bold, avant-garde, sharp. A couple of braided elements here that can borrow a little bit from ethereal. A silver chain, that would be a really beautiful basic piece. He already kind of had a piece like that, right? Black and silver is just around the neck. If he had his ears pierced and wanted to wear an earring, something sharp and angular would be great. My brother, who is 6'3" and is a pure dramatic type, both in body and in face, really looks great in sharp jewelry. He has a few cool pieces like that. Triangular shapes, things that have a bit of weight to them. Something like this piece here could run the risk of being a little small, but if we've got the angularity there, you can probably get away with it. Great ring shape here. Bold, masculine, bringing in the geometry. If you wanted to go for a slightly softer ethereal element, something like this downward flowing leaf shape here would also be good. It's still got that downward motion. Considering some active wear, some bold yang, some geometry. This is really cool. This is a cool way to bring in the camo print here. Fitted brings in a hugging for the soft dramatic, but it's got that yang sharpness there with that turtleneck. This is a great loungewear option too. We've got this narrow fit tracksuit bottoms with the racing stripe. High contrast, bringing in the optic white there. Long line right up. And these were cool too. I love that this came in a set, and even though there's a gradation there, which is almost a little bit more of an ethereal element, when it is these bold contrasting colors, that brings in color blocking that feels a bit dramatic actually. So this could be a cool activewear set option for Krishna. Fitted tops that zip up, have the higher neckline. Yeah, you get the picture. And some accessory pieces. I think these are always going to be easy ways to bring in a bit more weight if they work in the context of a cohesive wardrobe. Emphasizing downward long shapes. We're going with the dramatic beauty and the soft dramatic body type. Oversized, elongated. This is really cool. And I think even though we could say maybe it's a more natural print, it's sort of bold and intense. It brings that dramatic intensity, and this guy actually looks like he's got a bit of dramatic facial beauty as well. I think that's really cool. And you can see how just a really oversized out there piece like that can just be thrown on, and it just can transform the look and bring in a whole new dimensionality to it. Hats, I think we're going to want something that's big enough. Anything too small is going to feel a little bit small on Krishna relative to the soft dramatic body. Something with a bit of weight, a mid to large brim, and something to bring in a bit of sharpness as well. So I included slightly larger fedora vibes that have a bit of point. That's something that goes with the angularity. And a bonus thing for you today is some what not to wear items. Anything too gamine-like, too ridiculously fun and over the top is going to feel really immature and separate from the intensity that Krishna has in his beauty. If he wants to bring in some gamine, cheeky fun elements, he's better off going for that in a accessory item, or like a sock or a piece of jewelry, or maybe a neck scarf. That would be a way to bring in the cheek, bring in a little bit of spunk without compromising the intensity and the maturity that needs accommodation. Oversized natural prints, yeah, it just feels a little separate. Anything too oversized, we might look at this and go, okay, well, this is soft, but if it's too oversized and too baggy, there's not going to be the structure there enough to support his body type or his face. Simply won't be narrow and sharp enough for him. Anything with jewelry that is a little too small, remember I was mentioning having something a bit bulkier, a bit large, a bit more oversized. Things that are too small are going to feel small on him because he has a dramatic skeleton. And similar criticism with a jacket like this sort of bomber with a small yin print, sort of almost the opposite. This would be great on someone with a gamine body type, maybe a romantic body type, someone slight or who has some gamine or ingenue facial beauty. That's going to look great on them, not going to look great on Krishna. Right, same criticism with this here. This is too gamine. Actually looks really good on this model who both looks quite small in his physical presence and has some youthful features, right? So the small crispness of the print is good. Obviously there's some angularity there, which is great because Krishna has angularity. We want angularity, but this kind of gamine angularity is delicate angularity. It's shorter cropped lines. So it's not the right direction that we want to go in. Anything too boxy or square, not that squares are too terrible, but in this case it feels a little, I just think something longer and more angular in a dramatic way is going to be nicer than just a kind of medium-sized square. I think it's going to look a little bit boring and separate. Just a little too natural here. Belts that are going to be too skinny. Anything that leans too classic. The V-neck here is really good. This sweater would be really good, but a lot of traditional polos and button-ups are going to feel too classic and maybe feel a little bit boring on Krishna. That's just going to feel very dull. It's not severe enough. Too small a print. Again, you're getting the idea. And that about brings us to the end of this episode of Beauty Breakdown featuring the lovely Krishna. I'm going to leave links to his social media and his music channel down below in the description box. And I'm hoping that Krishna now has a little bit of a launch pad, a springboard with what he can start thinking about in curating some outfit pieces moving forward, really bringing in some of that intensity, that severity, bringing in the coolness, the intimidating factor of his facial beauty, and also bringing in some softer, luxurious fabrics that he's going to feel really snug and sexy in, basically. That's going to give him some really awesome look options moving forward, I think. If you like this video, guys, please do give it a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithms. Subscribe for more content if you enjoyed this, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching. There's no way I'm including that.
What's up, guys? Smash the like button, give us a like, give us a subscribe, comment below. Welcome to the channel. Beauty is being boom Kibby and to the Rachel system. Boom ethereal. Boom gaming. Boom, 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 boom.
You're having a little bit too much fun there, Jimmy. All right, goodbye. So we're working with the Kimmage. The Kimmage. Okay. The cabbage identity system. Fucking hell. Alright, we're going to have 2 minutes of nonsense.
What is liberty?
What the? Who says you can't build muscle on a vegan diet?
What's it like being a hottie in the vegan community? There are no political solutions, only technological ones.
The economics of the system don't allow multiple competing systems to survive.
Engineering, technology, these arts of humanity, they are magic.